Welcome. I'm Kinetic Symphony. I hunt down and report on mysterious and weird, true stories, from glitches to the paranormal. Case file number 465, written by Prometheus Titan God, Secrets of the Sun Refusing to Rise. I have had a lot of little glitches happen, but I never thought of them as being as profound enough to call them a glitch. But now in retrospect, they definitely fit the bill. I usually wake up just after sunrise every day for work, but for some reason on this one day, I woke up about an hour before. When this happens, I usually just stay awake, because falling back to sleep for under an hour makes me feel even more tired than if I just stayed awake. And on this day, I was wide awake. So I started with my morning coffee and realized I had enough time to catch the newest episode of my only favorite show. So I sipped my coffee watching my show. From the angle I sat, I could clearly see the window behind my phone. Yeah, I forgot to mention I was watching the show on my phone. I was holding it in front of me with my left hand while I drank my coffee with my right hand. My eyes kept glancing at the window because I was waiting for the sun to rise. Halfway through my show, I saw it was still totally dark out. It wasn't even dusk. I checked the time at 6:43 a.m. Now this is weird. The sunrise at the time of the experience was around 6:45 and 7:15. I checked several clocks and thought, okay, it must be cloudy. I walked to the window and looked outside up in the sky. Nope, no clouds. I even saw stars. No faint distant glow, just darkness. Now I'll note, before the questions are asked, I knew where the sun rises in relation to my location. I see it almost daily. I even have my alarm clock set to go off just after it's dawn. Also, I wasn't tired, and no, I don't suffer from any mental disorders. Okay, now to the glitch. I sat back down to finish my show. I thought, it's just later in the year, sunrise is a little later. But then right after my show came back from commercial break, my alarm clock went off. 6:47 a.m. Okay, it's still pitch black out. I felt a feeling of wrongness, I guess I can call it. The sunrise should definitely be a faint glow now, even if there were clouds. So I even opened the window and stuck my head out to look out the sky again. I checked the time online. I said damn it to myself. It's been over a month without any weirdness like this. I really hoped it was over. I finished my show just looking outside from where I sat. My second alarm sounded. This was okay to get dressed and leave the alarm. It was 7:05, still pitch black outside. Now something really went off. I looked to see if there was an eclipse or something I wasn't aware of, or a huge storm that I didn't know was coming. I was looking for all reasonable explanations, but then I noticed something. There was a weird burning or burnt smell coming from outside, not like smoky, but like when an electrical fire happened and burnt metallic plastic smelling lingers. There was also a weird mechanical screech or grinding in the far distance. It was also very echoey. I would normally assume it was someone's car making that smell, and the sound was distant construction, but there also wasn't any core or traffic sounds. None of the usual sounds of people going to work, kids going to school. Garbage trucks were absent. There are several major highways nearby, business developments, and car dealers all within range of normal ambient audible noise. I started to get ready for work anyways. I decided to sit back down to really think about what I would do if the sun never rises. Do I go to work or spend time with my loved ones? Because if the sun never rises, it's likely it will be a day within a day or two max. I was a fan of apocalyptic movies as a kid, but as I got older and actually had people I loved and cared about, I no longer liked the idea of the world ending in some horrific way. As I glared at the news, everything seemed normal in the world, but nothing was normal in the world around me. Then in a blink, as if someone flipped a damn switch, the sun was out bright, rising. The smell was gone. The weird grinding thing was now replaced by people warming up the cars. Dogs barking, garbage trucks. It literally went from pitch black stars out to full morning sunrise. I am very familiar with other people's experiences with glitches. There are only a handful of them I always scoff at. 2 of them are the sudden darkness and sudden daylight ones, and the ones where the world seems to be on pause, void of people and normal things. When this happened, I thought, damn it, I can't laugh at these certain glitches anymore, ever again. Case file number 466, written by Scumfaerie, Secrets of a Shout Heard Through Text. This happened yesterday, and I can't stop thinking about it. My boyfriend wasn't home, and I'd put my phone on charge behind the couch, then sat down and started reading. About 10 minutes later, I heard my boyfriend shout, "Baby!" and sat up, startled. He sometimes does this when he comes home to make me aware of his presence before he comes into the room, because I always jump if I don't hear him come in. I sat for a second, because I couldn't hear any movement, then turned around to get off the couch and go see him and what he was doing. As I got up, my phone lit up and it was a text message from him, literally a few seconds after I had just heard him call me. I thought nothing of it until I opened the living room door and he wasn't standing in the hallway. I checked my phone and he'd actually texted me something pretty urgent, and it made me even more freaked out. I'd heard him shout at me so clearly. It felt like in some weird way it was to get my attention from the book, so I'd turn around and get my phone. Case notes, file number 466. I wonder if what happened here, your subconscious was picking up on the specific frequency that was sent by your boyfriend's text, and then created the auditory hallucination of what your brain figured was urgent. Not quite to the extent of your brain decoding a text message, but enough to at least assume that something was going on that needed your undivided attention. And your phone was far away, out of sight, so your subconscious needed to kick your brain's butt into gear. Bonus file, written by Apprehensive Paint 90. Secrets of a ghost who just wants peace and quiet. When I was pregnant, my father and I stayed at his cousin's house for about a month before we moved into our apartment. It's an old farmhouse in a newly developed area of Warwick, Rhode Island. There are farms and woods in one direction and a small town to the other. We were told when we moved in that the house had been built in the mid-1800s, which to me was super interesting until my kid's father, I'll call him Brian, remarked at how the stairs seemed awfully dark and creepy for the middle of the day, and when I looked, he was right. It gave off such a sinister vibe. We slept in the living room and at night could see through the kitchen, and it was as if the stairs became a dark, uncomfortable void. When we brought this up to Brian's cousin and his wife, they proceeded to laugh and tell us stories of people being pushed down the stairs. I don't think they believed in ghosts, and the husband was an abusive drunk and drug addict, so they had enough problems clearly. That house was chaotic. The husband and wife clearly were having serious issues, emotionally and financially. They had a 6-year-old son who was afraid to sleep upstairs by himself because the shadows scared him. Great. After being in the house alone a couple times and seeing genuine human figures out of the corner of my eye, or even better, black dots on the floor with what looked like long spindly legs running, but when you look at them straight on would disappear. A few times I would see a figure out of the corner of my eye, look and see one of the family members who I hadn't heard come in. I think that freaked me out the most, because how can you explain to yourself seeing a person and sometimes nothing being there, but other times you expect it to disappear but would in fact be a person standing there this time? So weird. It was like I was being visually gaslit by ghosts. Brian would say how sitting in one chair in the living room, you'd want to look over your shoulder into the doorway, as if someone was coming down a set of stairs that used to be there. This also freaked me out, considering I slept right near the doorway and would often get a feeling of someone coming towards me. One day, me and Brian were the only two in the entire house, facing one another 2 feet away face to face, talking loud as we usually do. Directly in the middle of us, we heard a woman's voice say, "Shh." I asked if he had said that, and he stared at me with huge eyes and asked, "No, did you?" Then we laughed it off, as we were clearly talking too loud for the inhabitants, apparently. We eventually brought this up to the family, who included a second cousin living upstairs, and they confirmed they too saw and felt things. They told us they assumed the black voids that ran on the floor were just one of the dogs and ignored it if it wasn't. The cousin who lived upstairs said the curtains to his closet often moved like they were being pushed, but he chalked it up to being stoned or tired. There was no breeze. The wife told me when they first moved there, her son would see a man in a hat, but assumed it was his imagination. How could you live in a house so clearly haunted and just pass it off? The front of the house at night was avoided by basically everyone, as it was right where it felt like someone was walking by the doorframe at you in the living room. One night, I didn't feel like walking all the way around this huge house to the car, So I walked as fast as I could to the car through the front door. I heard a deep growling coming from the side of the house. They owned 3 dogs, one of which was a bull mastiff. Too freaked out to call for her, I ran in, and to my horror, all 3 dogs were in the house. Needless to say, I didn't use that entrance again. It was such an emotionally depressing house, and maybe me being pregnant, I was just more aware of everything. There were other weird things, but one of the last conversations I had with one of the roommates renting a back bedroom, it was down a long hall at the very end, the only door in the isolated hallway. I told her about me and Brian hearing shh directly in the middle of us. She explained she hears the same exact thing in the hallway if she and her son were getting loud, but was sure it was the owner's young son sneaking into the hallway. I'm not so sure.